Good day to you and welcome to Cujo Sound. Bjørn Jacobsen speaking from this tiny corner window here, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about MS microphones. You see, in the two previous videos I did about microphones, it was about how dynamic microphones work, and the last one was about directional microphones, such as the Sennheiser 416. But in this one, we're going to talk about the Sennheiser 418. It looks quite similar to the 416, except that it is a little longer, and actually it is two microphones in one. I really like this microphone. I've used it a lot on a lot of nice recordings, and here's how it works. If you remember the previous video about directional mics, you will notice that the 418 has the same openings on the side as the 416 does, but also has openings here at the top of it and on the bottom. These are the same openings as the other, but they are for the second part of the microphone. You see, the 418 is most likely quite similar to the 416 inside when it comes to the ordinary shotgun mic capabilities, but the 418 also has a so-called figure 8 characteristic microphone inside it. It works by having a condenser down here at the bottom of the microphone, and the openings on the top and the bottom work just as the other openings does on the side of the 416. It faces out the input of sound that comes from the sides. A figure 8 characteristic microphone records from both sides, not the front and not behind or above or below the microphone, which is a little different from a supercardioid microphone, which is here at the front of the microphone, because that records whatever is in front of it and not so much what's behind it. This means that this microphone also requires a 5-pin XLR and not the usual just mono XLR, which the 416 and other ordinary microphones require. It does so because it splits the signal coming from the mic into the left and right signal, also known as the MS signal, the mid and side, the left and right. If we connect just the left side XLR into our sound card, we will be able to record similar recordings to that of the 416 microphones. But if we also plug in the right side XLR, we will receive the recordings coming from the figure 8 microphone as well. This leaves us with an interesting combination of seemingly two mono recordings, where the left side is the source that came from the front of the microphone, and the right side is what came into the figure 8 microphone, meaning what came from both sides. Why is this interesting? Well, you see, normally to make an MS setup, you would need two microphones, a cardioid and a figure 8 to be placed on top of each other. This 418 has both inside and does a great job because it's so light and easy to record with in comparison to other heavy gear setups. Some even record with a so-called double MS setup, which requires 3 microphones, which would be the same as having 3 cardioid or supercardioid microphones on top each other, one for the front and one for each side. But in this case, we only have the 418 microphone, this one, which contains the 2 microphones. So what is all the fuss about this kind of microphone and the MS recording technique? As it is not what most would consider an actual stereo recording, because they would that think of it as left and right, and this is more like mono and mono. A lot of sound designers and audio engineers that I know does not know what an MS recording actually do. They know how to make it sound really good, but they don't know how it does it. All they know is that it sounds really awesome and its recordings can be used to play back something that can sound really, really wide. Simply because to them, this is an MS recording and it comes out with a stereo file that can then be run through an MS processor that will combine the signals, and then they don't have the slightest clue of what that MS processor actually did to the file. When I use that kind of processing, I usually go with the Voxengo MSED plugin, which I then run my MS recording through, and then it processes it and it puts out a stereo file that I can then use, and the respective signals will be in perfect sync. There are hundreds of manufacturers who do free MS processor plugins. You can go check it out and Google it if you want. But you can also do this yourself, and that gives you a lot of more options and possibilities. The basic treatment for an MS signal is to take the mid signal, the left side, and have it placed dead center as a mono signal. Then take the right side, which is the side signal. You remember the figure 8 both sides recording that we also had? You take that signal and you span it out onto 2 channels and you pan them respectively left and right. So now you basically have a stereo fader with the same signal on it. But then you phase invert one of the sides. What you can then do is that you can play back the mono signal from the very front. And then you can fade in the left and right signal, pan left and right as you want it, and that will create the wide signal and give you a very, very broad perspective of what you're trying to record. A group of singers or a drum kit, it's great for that. Now, you may wonder why I phase inverted one of the sides, as that would mean that if we summed this into mono, then it wouldn't be very mono-friendly, and the two sides would actually be phased out entirely. But that's actually the entire point. You see, if you listen to this in stereo, then the signal is very wide and very nice, but that cannot be reflected if you listen on mono. Therefore, the wide signal is no longer of any use to us. So by phase inverting it, we also make sure that it's actually very mono compatible, because then it only leaves our mono signal left, and the wide signal that we cannot use anyway is automatically phased out. An MS microphone like this is really nice, because for some reason it's also super sensitive when it's distorted. According to Sennheiser's website, this microphone is supposed to not record higher than frequencies above 20,000 hertz or 20 kilohertz, depending on how you want to say it. But that's funny, because if you do a 192 kilohertz sample rate recording of this signal and distort it, you get this. Way above 20 kilohertz material. And that's really interesting, because that means this material can be pitched down and then listened to. Actually, both the intro and outro of all these microphone videos are all made entirely of recordings that I've done with the 418 that I have manipulated and edited to make sound like that. For example, this sound here. This is a wooden ball thrown at a basketball hoop plate in a gym at an abandoned school that we had gained access to. The sound of the ball hitting the plate is fairly ordinary, but pitching down the frequencies above 20 kilohertz and blending it with itself, a little bit of EQing, and then playing it back on top of each other, we get this nice oomphy-boomfy sound. Obviously, the 418 is not made specifically for you to record stuff like this at high frequencies and manipulate it. But it is really interesting from a sound design perspective, because that means that we now know that this microphone produces artifacts that we can use. And it's particularly interesting because the 416, which is a kind of similar microphone, does not produce these artifacts when used in the exact same way. So it has something to do with the microphone's MS condensators. So again, just as with the 416, is the 418 a good microphone? If you need an easy-to-use and easy-to-carry MS microphone and a shotgun super cardioid microphone, yeah, it's a great alternative to the 416 because it allows both mono and stereo recordings. But if you need something omnipresent, just as with the 416, and something that you want to record from a lot of different directions or 4 channels or things like that, then this is not a good microphone. And it's not the microphone for the purpose that you need. It's all about knowing your gear and what you want to record. Actually, I think you might be better off using a phone, which I, just as I've said before, made an entire video series about that you, by the way, totally should check out. And you can do so in the link above. Thank you for watching this video on MS microphone. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching Cujo Sound. If you liked this video and want to know more about game audio, hit the like and subscribe button, or maybe check out patreon.com/Cujo Sound, where you for as little as $1 a month can help me sustain this channel and the time I take off to create this material. Signing up also gives you access to a lot of other things. Thank you for watching.